Brothers and sisters, this is the Dr. Dawn Radio Show. No judgment, just realness here on Raise the Praise 100, where we give you praise all day, every day. I am so excited to have this conversation. It's going to be good. God is always in the place, and I tell you, I'm so thankful that He always aligns me with just really, really good people, right? Good people know good people. That's what I always say, y'all. Good people know good people. But y'all, we are here, and I tell you, I got to give this brother a proper introduction. We cannot bring him, we cannot bring this brother on just any kind of raggedy way. We have to bring him in the right way. Y'all know how we do here on the Dr. Dawn Radio Show. No judgment, just realness. I got to thank my brother for being here. And I think, can I call you a brother?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Everybody doesn't have that privilege.
Yeah. You're right. You're exactly right.
Hey, isn't that real though?
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Oh my goodness. I tell you, Brian, it's a crazy world we live in, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
yes.
telling
And especially, I just told somebody today, Don, it's like I'm getting to the point where I'm almost, sometimes afraid to go outside with the way that this world is turning. So, but that's another show for another time. I know.
Hey, you got it. You know how we do it. Look at Brian. You got my good Brian, I'm telling you. Brian knows those phrases, don't you, Brian?
Oh, for sure I do. Yes, I do.
Another topic for another time. And Brian, we are about to go live on Facebook as well. So if you are on Facebook, you can definitely follow us on the StreamYard. Okay. But for those who are listening online, we want to thank you. For those who are continuing to, you know what, Brian, I was doing. Let me tell y'all something. I'm working this new technology. And let me tell you what the problem was. I'm on another monitor trying to do, y'all. When you a woman multitasking, I'm gonna tell you, it is not easy. It is not easy. It is not easy. But anyway, for those listening, let me give you a proper introduction. Thank you for those who are listening online, and thank you for those who are watching via StreamYard. But I got to give this brother a proper introduction. He is Brian Barefield. Okay. AKA Big Sarge. He is a veteran, a proud veteran. Okay. He is an entrepreneur, owner of Big Sarge Media. Also, Brian is a sports radio host. You see him covering the Texans, Astros, all of that. And also, Brian is a speaker and a mental health advocate. So without further ado, let's welcome. And also, he was a host here on Raise the Praise 100, right? But God called him to do some different things. But without further ado, let's welcome to the Dr. Dawn Radio Show, Brian Barefield. How are you, Brian?
Hey, what's going on, Dr. Dawn? The Dr. Dawn. You know what? Let me start by saying this. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be on any platform that you are on. And we've been on a lot of platforms together, and that's solely due to the fact that you called me a brother earlier, and that means a lot to me. That means a lot because you and I know, where we started from. You and I know what we've been through and where we are today. And for me to be able to follow in your footsteps, and for you to reach out to me and ask me to be a part of anything that you need me to be on, I'm gonna make the time. Hey, I'm gonna make the time. When you said such, I said, okay, just give me 1 second. I gotta check something. I will definitely get back to you. And that's because I needed to rearrange some stuff. So I really to make sure that I am right here. I'm gonna always, if I'm able to be, wait, hold on, because I'm 50 now, Don. So I get
honey.
I'm 50, so I get to the point now where I say, and if God says the same.
Oh man, why am I saying that now too? I'm 45. I'm saying it. I'm like, look, if the Lord says the same.
Yeah. So, if the Lord said the same, whenever you call, I'm gonna be there.
Hey, I thank you, man, because that means a lot, right?
Yeah. To me, it does. It means a lot to me, Don, because I put it like this, and I know that you get your flowers a lot, but I'm gonna take just a small second, a small couple of minutes on your show to give
Uh,
you more flowers because
uh,
Don, I people have come and gone that we know
yeah.
mutually. They have come and gone, and we know why, and it isn't because of anything that you've done.
No.
It's because of everything that they've done.
Mm.
And so, and you don't have, so people, for those of y'all who don't know, the Dr. Don does not have time for the foolishness.
Let me.
So I appreciate the fact that, that I'm still around, I'm just glad to be in the number.
And look, you said they're gone, and I'm like, they ain't dead. Their spirit is though. Their
Yes,
spirit was dead. Yeah.
yes, yes, for
And
sure.
let's be honest about it. You right. People are gonna come and go. Brian, we've talked about like y'all should hear the conversations behind the scenes, but we can't
Yes,
share that. That's private.
yes.
The Inquirer couldn't pay me enough to talk about the foolishness that we have encountered from some people.
Oh,
But we
yes.
got to pray for. I'm telling you. Oh
Yes.
my goodness, Brian, I'm telling you. And Brian, feel free to share because you can share on Facebook because I've made it public. The StreamYard.
Okay.
So, yeah. But thank you to those listening online on raisethepraise100.com. Thank you for those who are listening through the app. Thank you for those who are watching as well on StreamYard. Brian, we're about to have this conversation, right? Tell people a little bit about who you are, those who don't know.
So for those of y'all who don't know, I'm very loud, I'm very country. So if you ever meet me in person, I will take it down an octave, but I, I'm gonna definitely always make sure that I'm smiling. And the reason why I preface, my introduction by saying that is because most people who know me and follow me, but for those who don't, I lost my wife in 2017 to colon cancer. September of 2017, she took her last breath in my arms, and to be honest with you, and Don, I've told you this on numerous occasions. Like I don't think I valued life until I seen it leave from my hand.
Oh, wow.
That because up until that point, I was always one of those people who said, I could always do it. I always got time. I always got time. I always got time. But
Mm.
when I watched her life pass, when I watched her pass away and her life leave out of my hands, I realized that this life ain't promised to anybody. I mean, she
Oh,
passed
wow.
away before she's 40 years old. And so this life
Mm.
isn't promised to anyone. So that's why you're going to see me smile all the time. So I'm a widower. I am a veteran, proud veteran of the United States Army. I
Yeah.
am a graduate of Prairie View A&M University.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and so I am the sports editor of Houston Style Magazine. So I cover the Texans, the Astros, the Rockets, the HBCUs here, Texas Southern and Prairie View. I do some collegiate stuff. I do some high school stuff, and then 3 days out of the week, I'm proud to say that I'm a guest host on In the Trenches, hosted by a former NFL player, ND Kalu. So from
That's
10 to
right.
12 p.m., he allows me to come on there. And it's more of, I would say it's more of us just hanging out talking sports than it is like going to a job.
Wow.
It's two of us just hanging out pretty much. And so I love it. Oh, and I'm sorry, there's the co-host, excuse me, is Chris Gordy. So I love it. That's my life in a nutshell. It's and oh wait, I cannot go on without saying this too.
Oh, here we
I have
go. What?
five, I have 5 kids and I have 4 grandkids who I love with all my heart. My grandbabies. I just called them yesterday and got on their nerves. My granddaughters, especially, I called and got on their nerves for just no reason at all, just because I'm pawpaw. And I have so it's 4 of them. It's 2 boys and 2 girls. And
Yeah.
come this August, there'll be a new addition.
Oh,
I'll be a
wow.
pawpaw for the 5th time. So
Okay.
I have another granddaughter coming, and her name is Mila.
Oh, they're named after Mila. That's
Yes,
beautiful.
yes.
Wow.
So
Because
that's
me,
me in a nutshell.
wow. I tell you, Brian's resume. Hey, but do you stay so busy? Is one of the reasons why you stay so big? We see you everywhere,
Mhm.
right? So, and let me say this, people. Brian's everywhere, but he's not just anywhere. It
Yes.
seems like he's everywhere, but he's not just anywhere. But do you think one of the things that helps keep you mentally strong especially after you losing your wife and then you lost your mother. What was it, a year?
Yeah, 15 months apart.
Yeah. So, do you think one of the reasons why, I mean, you love sports, but in the trenches, you said it, radio show, this, that, is part of the, do you stay so busy, so productive because that helps your mental health for you?
So yes,
Mm,
actually it does. It
okay.
helps me out a lot. And I'm also one though that I would take time to settle down
Okay.
when God tells me to. I'm gonna be honest with you because like you say, we keep it real right here, right?
Oh yeah, it's no judgment, just realness.
Right.
And for
So
anyone who's watching, we want to thank you for those watching on StreamYard and listening. If you have a comment, please put it in the Facebook comments. Show Brian some love, or maybe you have a question about men and mental health that you want to share. But go
so
ahead, Brian.
so when I I settle down sometimes when God makes me settle down.
Okay.
I've said this on numerous occasions that when God is trying to talk to you, when He's trying to tell you something, and you try to keep yourself busy, He'll make it He'll make it to where you have to stop.
Mm,
On last year, I had COVID, and I had COVID for about a month, if I'm not
wow.
mistaken, and so
Wow.
took me down, but taught me lessons, and I realized He was trying to tell me something. So even to this day, I take my time to relax when I can, but sometimes He has to pull me and say, hey, you need to sit down for a second because you're doing too much. And by doing too much, you're allowing too many things to go on. And
Yeah.
so, yes, staying busy helps me, but it isn't as good as therapy.
Yeah.
It isn't as good as, praying. It isn't
Hmm.
as good as, reaching out to some people and talking to some people. And it's funny, Don, because you asked me, before we came onto the show, you asked me how I was doing, and I said I'm doing good. I can't complain.
Yeah.
Right now though, see,
Yeah.
because I just went through a major I mean, I just went through a battle with major depression. Don, I've
Mm,
been dealing with depression since when you and I talked.
yeah.
I was dealing with depression then,
A
and
couple days ago, a few days,
uh,
last week.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
probably prior to that, probably 2 weeks prior to that.
Yeah.
It's been going on a long time, and it's hard because I recognize it, but then I'm so busy that it's almost like I recognize it, and I was like, yo, you're going through something right now. Oh, I don't have time because the Rockets got practice. So you
Mm,
ain't got time to deal with this depression. You got to keep going. And Don, I I want to say the Rockets had a home game here before the season. Then I want to say the third to the last home game here. I found myself in the bathroom crying,
wow.
went into a stall because it just hit me. It just
Yeah.
hit me all of a sudden. And so I deal with those type of things. And so I stay busy, but I'm not going to be the one to sit up here and say, oh yeah, I know how to deal with all my issues. No, I cry too.
Yeah.
I hurt too. And so I just came out of that funk. And one of the it's and I'm sorry that I'm being long-winded, Don,
No,
but
no, no. Say it.
one of the reasons why I was going through depression, and you reached out to me after I put this out on social media.
Mm,
I went to church
yeah.
last week twice.
Yeah.
I went on Thursday night for Easter service, and then I went Easter Sunday.
Wow.
And I realized, Don, that's the first time I had been in a church to attend a church service. I can't even tell you, to be honest with you. The only time I can think about is maybe 2013, maybe
Wow.
2013, 2014, maybe 2014, but I haven't been to church since Mila passed away. And Mila passed away
Mm,
2017. So I definitely know it was because she was sick before then. So Don, let's just say this. I haven't been in church in a very long time.
wow. Now let's, and that's something I want to touch on, Brian, because I do no judgment, just realness, right?
Yeah.
You are a believer in Christ,
Yes.
right?
Oh, yes.
So some of you may be saying, who are listening, who are watching on StreamYard, well, he hasn't been, sweetheart, let me tell you something. Grief is a process. It's not about religion, it's about a relationship.
Yes.
And I heard CC Winan say that so eloquently. She said it's not about a religion, it's about a relationship. How about let's embrace people who haven't been to the church in a minute. How about let's show some love? Um, Brian, I have no doubt that you will find a church home as you continue to submit, as you continue to go through your process, right, of healing. I applaud you for saying that, because some people go to the church, but then some people have to take time away for a minute, and we don't judge them for that. But we know we need the fellowship of believers, but we're fellowshipping right now.
Yeah, and the thing was too, Don, is that it took until last week to realize for me to realize is that I was I was mad at God. I
Mm,
was mad because you take you take both of my best friends within a 15 month span. Like you didn't just it wasn't that we broke up or I stopped talking to my mama. Like they're gone. You took
yeah.
them, and you took them away from me. You took them out of my life. Like what type of lesson am I supposed to learn from that? Like these are the
Mm,
two people that I depended on when I was going through mental health issues or when I was having problems in my life or just to call and laugh with. So, and you've taken both of them. And
mm.
I was so angry and so upset. And you know what God said to me last week?
What do you say?
Be mad. I don't care about you being mad. I still love you. And when you stop being mad, I'm gonna still be here. So
Oh
go
yes.
ahead. You in your feelings right now. Be in your feelings. You've been in your feelings. I know you've been in your feelings for this long,
Yeah.
but I said it was enough.
Yeah.
And I brought you back to the place where I needed you to be so I could tell you that
Mm.
you mad at me. I'm not mad at you.
Wow. I want to shout out Keisha Burke, who's watching. She says grief is not easy.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Keisha. She said grief is not easy. And people, you may be saying, the Dr. Don just said, don't go to church. No, that's not what I said.
Mhm.
We need to be in the fellowship of believers. We need to be in a kingdom building congregation. But grief is a process. So let's be sensitive, because Brian just told us he went through depression. How does it look if I condemn him? You ain't been to church, Brian. What is that going to do?
Yeah.
How about I pray for Brian? God will bring him back to the church house, and let's applaud the fact you went twice in 2 weeks in a week.
Yeah.
Come on now,
Yes.
Brian. Thank
And
you for sharing that. And how was the experience for you? How was it for you? How was that for you walking in after, because you still have a relationship with Christ, but how was it being in the church house again?
so when I first got in there, it was weird because like I said, I hadn't been in a church in a long time.
Mm,
And so Don, you ever had that feeling where on the inside of you, evil and good is fighting against each other?
oh yes. The enemy was trying to keep you. Enemy doesn't want you. Enemy doesn't want you to get back to God. He wants you to stay in depression. He wants you to, yeah, he wants you
Yeah.
angry with God. He doesn't want you healing. Oh my goodness. Lord,
Yes.
Lord. Go ahead.
And that's what it was. This
Mm,
this whole range of emotions because on the inside my spirits are fighting against each other
Lord, Lord.
because one side is saying thank you, this is where you're supposed to be, this is where you've been supposed to be, and the other one's like, man, what you doing in here? We don't need to be in
Mm,
here, let's just go ahead and go somewhere else.
yeah.
We don't need to be in here. So I battled with that until I realized that this is where I'm supposed to be. And I
Yeah.
listened to the message. Matter of fact, it was a pastor who came out of New York, and he's a Middle Eastern
Yeah.
pastor. And
Okay.
so he preaches to Christians, Muslims, Hindus, everybody, right? And so it's funny, Don, because after I took a step back and realized why God brought me back to church on Thursday and Sunday, because
Mm.
it's the resurrection.
Oh yes.
It was the resurrection. And so he preached about the garden, the cup, and the prayer.
Mm.
And Don, I tell you, once I walked out of that on Thursday night, I knew that I had to go back Sunday. And I went to
Amen.
a different campus of the same church
Yeah.
on Sunday, and I was just filled. And so I'm going back to church this Sunday. So
Amen.
going back to church this Sunday, and I'm going to continue to go because I know that that's where I'm supposed to be.
Oh
And
yes.
I'm not saying that I may stray from the wayside again. I don't know what, but I know personally that I don't want to do that. And here's the thing too, Don. So I didn't go to a. Let's just say this. I
Okay.
wasn't. I wasn't. I was at a church that sung Christian music, not gospel.
Okay.
And so it was weird to me because I'm hearing the music and I'm like, okay, I understand the lyrics and I understand what they're supposed to do. I got that part. So I'm sitting there listening. And then when the pastor came up to preach, Don, you know, I'm used to being in church where we say, go ahead, Pastor,
Yeah,
pray.
yeah. The Black Baptist traditional, yeah, the loud, we are an emotional people. We
Take
are,
your time.
yeah, we
Right.
gonna shout. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And Don, the message was so good, but it was so quiet, I couldn't even shout.
Yes, you
Because I
can.
wanted to shout. I really wanted to shout, but I was like, I'm a visitor here, and wasn't nobody saying nothing. So I was like, hey, they got the message, right? It's like, oh yeah, that's what we do all the time. We don't ever talk in here like that. Like I mean, you'll hear an occasional amen,
Yeah, yeah.
occasional, all right. But I'm like, man, this man is preaching a word. Where is the I need to hear something.
But you know what? You can't. Don't let anybody keep your praise in a box.
Yeah, so
Shoot, they might be like, okay, let me, because I look like my pastor said, as God is as good as He's been, I can't sit and like I'm in a library.
so I was
Uh,
so I was screaming and shouting on the
yeah,
inside, dog. But
yeah, yeah, in a good way. Yeah,
yeah, but as I digress, I just know that God brought me back to a place that I needed to be, and that the shackles of depression was gone after I got out of
amen,
church on Thursday. It was gone. So
amen. And
yeah,
maybe that's how they pray, because everybody prays is different, right?
yes,
Everybody prays is different.
yes,
Everybody prays is different. Their praise may be just, but we as African Americans, we done been through slavery, racism, social baby, we can't stay quiet.
that's fine, Don.
Yeah,
Sunday, I'm amen. Yeah,
yeah. So you get in there and you show them, you just shout, give them big stars. That's what I say. Yeah,
yeah,
you praising the Lord. But I just love that testimony, man. I love that testimony, and you're going back Sunday and keep going back. Like, right? It's and the thing is, and you just said it. You said, "Oh, we fall. I fall." But you think I haven't? Hello. How many times you think I have to confess?
yeah. We all do. Yeah,
We all. It
yeah,
says in the Word, we all have sinned and fallen short.
yep,
Not
exactly. So
not even after Christ, Brian. I can't tell you how many times I got to say, "Lord."
right.
Just thinking about something, I'm like, Lord, why did I just think that about this? Help me, Lord.
Yep, that's why I've adopted this thing now to where it's because last year when I had COVID, I almost died, and
Mm,
that made me realize again that life is short. So now what I try to do is if I have like negative thoughts and negative thoughts or say something negative or like profanity or anything, I just put my hand over my heart,
yeah,
and not only does it center me, but it reminds me that okay, so whatever was happening was negative, this, that, and other. And so it's to the point now where even my colleagues, if I get ready to say something, they better hand over heart. So
yeah.
then, I put my hand over my heart and then I cuss and then I take my hand off and put my no, I'm just playing. But I keep my hand over my heart. And that has,
Yeah.
and you know what, Don, to be honest with you, that has helped me a lot as far as mentally as well,
Mm,
because it centers me and it makes me stop focusing on whatever negative going around me. And I put my hand over my heart because I can feel my heartbeat as well. And I was like,
wow.
I'm still living. So as long as you living, you can deal with whatever issue that's going on.
Wow.
Just
Are
keep
you in therapy and counseling now, or you do it when you need it?
I do it when I need it.
Okay.
I I do it when I need it. And so COVID kind of messed up a lot of therapy. And they have this online therapy that you can do. You can talk
Yeah,
to your
the
therapist.
virtual.
And
But for you, okay, because like I tell people, what works for one is not going to work for another. Some people don't like one-on-one. Doesn't matter if it's virtual or live. They like a support group.
yes,
um or
I gotta
some,
do that.
so the virtual wasn't working for you. You didn't, how
Yeah.
did the virtual
I didn't
experience
I don't
therapy
like
make you
it.
feel?
I don't like it. I need to have the human interaction. I need to
Okay,
be there, sitting there, so we can make eye contact. And I know we can
gotcha,
do that, via whatever technology we're using. But I need to see how you're going to react to something that I say, and I need you to see how I'm gonna react to something you say. I just need that in person human, interaction. And so
gotcha.
that's why it doesn't work for me as much because Don, when I, I'm like, I use this same computer that, that you and I are talking on to do work
Yeah.
and to do social media and read emails and go on some gossip blog sites or whatever the case may be. So if I sit down here, you're talking to me and we're talking, but I got tabs open at the top. So I'm looking, you know what? I got to go check ESPN because I got to write a story
Mm.
about, Shohei Ohtani coming in and pitching against the Astros last night. And I forgot the Texans are about. So now I'm starting to get distracted. Oh, there go my email, the little thing
Gotcha.
notified. And so that's one of the things I can't do. Even on my phone, I don't want to be holding it all day. So no, I got to have for me the
Yeah.
human interaction.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody, whatever the process is, right?
Yep.
Whatever the process is to help you heal, many therapists and counselors said business triple, quadruple. Many clients were good with the virtual.
Yes.
But like yourself, what is the option for those who need to see that, there are still therapists and counselors seeing clients in person? Put your mask on and go
Yeah.
in there.
Exactly.
So absolutely, absolutely. Now, this is the question I have for you, Brian, because we are talking about screaming on the inside, right?
Uh-huh.
Because isn't that the name of the mental health conference you had a few years ago?
Yes, yes, and
Yeah,
that's the name of my mental health advocacy program as well. Screaming
yeah.
on the
For
inside. Yes,
men specifically,
yes.
right?
Well, yeah, yes, men and young men as well.
Do you see more men? Because we see more, I was talking to a therapist maybe a month ago, and she said she loves her male clients. She loves seeing more men being open about mental health. Are you finding that more men are open to talking about it, even amongst each other? How are you? What are you seeing out there?
So when I talk to when I talk to men and young men about their mental health issues,
Hmm.
it's almost the equivalent to having like just sitting at a sports bar talking.
Ah, gotcha.
There's two guys talking or at the game and you just start talking. And I don't know what it is about me, Don, to be honest with you, that people just like they want to talk to me.
Yeah.
Like I guess I have that face or that
Well, the
demeanor.
spirit, the
Yeah.
spirit.
And they just want so when I engage into these conversations with some of these men, it doesn't even start off that way. It doesn't even start off with, hey man, you going through something, let's talk about it. It can start off with, hey bro, you seen the game last night? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
man, I seen the game, man. I was trying to watch it, but my son is having some issues at school.
Mm,
His grades ain't right and this that and other, and that leads into you maybe having marital problems or problems with your significant other, and you now you got problems at your job, this that and other. And so I can usually tell when it's going down that road because I become more of a listener than a
yeah.
talker.
Yeah.
Because if I can't talk back to you if I'm not listening.
That's
And I
right.
also,
Active listening.
yes, and
Yeah.
Don, I'm one of those people that if I ask you how you're doing, I don't expect for you to just say all right and move on. If
Yeah.
I ask you, hey man, how you doing? How's it going?
Give
When
me
I
the
ask how's
truth.
it going, I'm planning to stand there. If you're gonna tell me, this is what's going on. If you say, oh, I'm doing good, all right, man, well, and I'll move on. But if you say, man, it's some things going on. I'm
Yeah.
already prepared. I'm not one of those people that's just going to move on. And so that's usually how the interaction happens. And it also happens, Don, because when I'm in these different stadiums and ballparks and things like that, I develop these relationships
Yeah.
with different types of people who work there. I'm not talking about the athletes, the coaches, the executives. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the people who work in food services, who are the
Yeah.
ushers, who are parking lot attendants. I'll give you a prime example. There's a guy that stands outside of the where the Rockets hold their press conferences at. There's a
Hmm.
guy out there that sits there. He's been there. I guess now he's been there he was there for a couple of months or whatever. So one day, as we're waiting on one of the players to come in, I'm just out there talking to him, and so he tells me that his wife breaks her hip, right? And I was like, oh man, he's like, yeah, she's a little bit older. She fell down, she broke her hip. The player came, and then one player came, another player came, nothing.
Yeah.
So I want to say he wasn't there that next time. That next time that I seen him showed up, I purposely went to him and said, hey man, how your wife doing?
That's right.
And then he began to talk to me about different types of things. And then he just started talking to me about his life. So as I digress, that's what normally happens when I talk to these men, and they they feel comfortable
Yeah.
talking to another male because now it doesn't feel like it's a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like I can't handle, what's going on. And I tell them all the time, like, it's okay. Like, we don't have to be strong in every instance.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes we are weak. So, what you do is you find your weak points and you work on those, and then you make them stronger.
But
And so,
see, but see, we communicate differently,
yes,
right? Men and women. So we can get
uh-huh,
frustrated. But
yes,
see, our husband, boyfriend, whatever, may talk to Brian. He's not
yes,
going to tell you, but he's releasing it to Brian.
yes.
Because do you think sometimes women miss the signs, or we don't communicate, or what has been your experience when you are dealing with stress and you're in a relationship and maybe she's misreading that you are really stressed? No, you're not ignoring her. No, you're dealing with depression and stress right
Well, for me though, Don, it's different
now. Okay.
because when I'm dealing with it, she know I'm dealing with it.
Yeah.
You
But I'm
know,
talking about you, or maybe what other men have told you as a mental health advocate.
well, and man, the men that are listening to this show they're gonna kill me, Don, when I say
I mean,
this.
it's the
But
truth.
Don, a lot of them don't give their spouses the opportunity to help.
Mm,
So it isn't anything that the woman is doing. It isn't anything that the female is doing. It's the man,
mm.
because how we've been labeled, and
Yeah.
there's this we are strong, we don't go through nothing, push on, and then we've been taught, be tough ever since you were knee high to a duck butt, growing
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a little boy. Stop crying. Stop
Yeah.
crying. No, I need to cry. I'm hurting. Stop crying. Stop crying. Be tough. Be tough. And so, a lot of us have had that mindset growing all the way up. So everything is always be tough, be tough, be tough. And when you have a young lady, when you have a significant other that is willing to listen to you, when you have a significant other that's willing to help, and side note, you also got to make sure you find the one that will help and listen.
Hello.
Because if you go out there and get that wrong one, who gonna call you, who's gonna spew some hatred towards you, or call you soft, or call you this, that, and other, then that's on you. You done
That's
picked the
right.
wrong one. You done picked the wrong one. If she always tell you, don't come to me with that weak stuff, blah 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 blah, she's not the one for you, bro.
That's
You gotta
right.
get someone.
Especially if you're dealing with mental health challenges,
Exactly.
uh, triggering some things.
Yes.
maybe you were out in the world and some things were triggered, and you come home and she starts with all that. White
Yes.
women.
Yes, because you have to know,
Yeah.
Don, as a man, and this is what I tell him. As a man, you got to know that at your weakest point, at whatever you're going through, she not gonna turn and walk away, but she gonna say, "Hey, let's fix this together.
Yeah.
Let's fix this together," because she's seen you stand there and fix it with her, because you got to be a willing participant as well. If you want her to listen, then you got to be able to listen as well, and you can't push that macho bravado onto her when she's ready to talk, which a lot of us don't. A lot of men, they won't, because they want to be seen as the tough one, this, that, and other. But you ain't so tough that when you go through things, you ain't supposed to talk about it. So you find you that right one. And so sometimes it's unfair to the young ladies that they're willing to help and willing to listen, but we're not willing to share.
Yeah.
So then we
But
go out and we find a big Sarge to talk to, or a Jonathan to talk to, or your
yeah.
homeboy to talk to, and that's what happens.
But see, in the Word of God, you just touched on something. In the Word of God, it says love is patient,
Yes.
love is kind.
Mm-hmm.
See, because if Brian and I are married, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Brian and I are married, and he's dealing with stress, right? And I'm really frustrated because he's not sharing with me. The Dr. Don needs to leave the room, go pray. Don't keep talking to him. Don't talk to him in a frustrating place, because I want him to open up. Love is patient and love is kind.
Mm-hmm.
You may need to leave that conversation alone, sister, until the morning. right?
Yes.
Or just you're right. So I think a lot of times, and I was talking to this woman, Brian. She leads a wife life. She trains. She basically has a ministry helping women strengthen their marriage, and then it's for wives and training single women. So one thing she says women need to watch is our timing and our tone.
Yeah.
Our timing and our tone,
I can
man.
I
Yeah,
can understand that. And you
yeah.
know what? And I'm gonna say this, and like I said, the men that are listening, you might get mad at me, but I hope that for
Since when do
those
you care what people
right.
think about you?
And, and so that's what I was about to say. Is like, hey, you may get mad at me, but if you're going through this, then I'm about to help you. So please
Come on.
listen closely. I spoke about earlier finding that right one that's going to be there for you. If you don't, that's when you are putting yourself in other situations because you don't want to talk to your spouse.
Hmm.
So now you got, oh, I just got this one over here that I can go and just talk to and be ghetto with or whatever the case may be. Look, I got this therapist and then this
Side pieces,
therapist.
mistresses, all of that is not, yeah, yeah.
When you really sometimes have everything that you need at home, you're the
Amen.
one piecing it together out here, and it ain't
Yeah,
gonna lead nothing to but to an unhappy home. And now
that's
look,
right.
hold on, I'm telling you something. I ain't telling you something I heard. I'm telling you something I know. Like I'm
Yeah.
speaking, let's start with me first. I used to be that way, Don. I used to be where I had a good woman, but then I was like, ah, but she over here, I get to,
So
we
you
can
were
be
sampling off different menus. And no, what is this show? No judgment, just realness.
exactly. And so sometimes you got to recognize and go out and get the right one that's going to stay at home, that's going to listen to you. And it's not weak. I keep preaching it's not weak because it's not. It's
Yeah.
not weak to share your feelings.
Amen. And you know what you touched on? Because this is what I was thinking. When you were talking about how you ask men, how are you doing? But you know
Mhm.
what sometimes we do? We tell people how they're doing.
Yes.
Hey Brian, oh, I know you're doing good. I see you with the Astros. I see you.
Yeah.
I was in the bathroom at the Rockets game about to break down. I had to
Yes.
go cry. You saw
Yes.
me on the fifth. What is it?
Yes.
Basketball court. What do they call
Yeah.
it?
Half court.
Yeah, you saw me on the half court, but you didn't see when, as you just shared, when I was in the bathroom having a breakdown because I was
Yeah.
dealing with depression.
Yes.
We tell people how they're doing.
Yes.
We tell people, let's ask, hey, how are you? How you doing? Are you doing okay? I know we need to not tell people how they're doing let me tell you, Brian, if I say, Brian, oh, I know you're doing good, instead of
Mhm.
saying, Brian, how are you? When I say, how are you, that opens the door for you to be honest and
Yes.
transparent. But when
Yes.
we tell people how they're doing, there's a shame. They feel like, oh, I can't tell. Oh, I got to keep the mask.
Yep.
Let's just ask people. And I even had somebody tell me, Brian, she said, oh, I need you to pray for me. I said, okay. And then a very, very nice lady, very sweet, sweet. And I said, oh, pray for me too. Because I think I was dealing with a challenging time, but of course,
Yeah.
and she said, you don't need prayer. She said, you good. She said, you good. You don't need
Yeah.
prayer. Like she really didn't think that. I'm like, but I'm telling you, I need prayer. She said, oh, you good. You'll be fine. You always really, So I said, okay.
And
Yeah.
yes, that's why I always be like, okay, I'll pray for you. Sometimes I be like, tell me your name so I can make sure I tell God who I'm
But
praying
but she
for.
thought I didn't need prayer. She said I was. She said, "Oh, you good."
I don't know why some people think that though. People think that, yeah, you're right. It's like, no, I'm not good. No, no, wait a minute, time out. No, I'm not good. So I need you to pray for me as well. And you know what, too? I always said, I don't know. I'm not trying to make this into because I'm not a relationship therapist, so I'm not trying to make this into a relationship, but
No, no, no. We always have good relationship talk, right?
yep, and
Yeah.
Don, one thing that happens though in a relationship, and especially I'm just going to use it from a male's perspective. Sometimes we get afraid to open up to you all because we don't want to use against us later on.
Uh, but again, if you're not with the right one,
Hey, and look, but Don, sometimes you can be with the right one, but if she ready to take a shot, she gonna take a shot. And I ain't talking about liquor. I'm talking
hey,
about if y'all arguing, she trying to hit below the belt. Hey, she be like, oh, well, at least I wasn't the one crying in the car because of blah blah
oh
blah.
man,
I told you that in confidentiality, so you and I can work this thing out, or whatever the case may be. And look what you're doing to me. So you also got to make sure. He gonna get you one that ain't gonna, you
But let
know.
me tell you, I love the relationship Brian and I have because we've known each other for what, a few years. My goodness, since a few radio stations back. Okay,
Yes.
no names will be mentioned because that's another topic for another time. But couple radio stations ago, Brian, when we were talking last week, you told me something, right? And you said between you and me,
Yeah.
there's a trust factor there, right? So when
Yeah.
a man trusts you, or when anybody trusts you, don't violate that trust.
Yes.
Don't violate that trust.
Yeah.
Don't do it. But people have to know they can trust you, right? That's men, because when a man, what happens in your experience, Brian, and
Hmm.
personally share with us when the trust is violated, what does that do to a man?
I don't know what it does to every man.
But for you, yeah,
I'm done. I'm
yeah,
done. If you violate my trust, I'm done. And
no
because
forgiveness,
no. I'll forgive you.
yeah,
I ain't gonna forget. And at that point, in order for me not to continue sinning and meaning because I'm gonna be mad at you, then I'm gonna go ahead and move on
yeah,
because there will never be a relationship between you and I, a bond between you and I that we had once the trust is broken.
mm,
And Don, I'm gonna tell you this. I learned that the hard way from it happening to me.
mm,
I broke and violated the trust of some people. And then I tried to ask, hey, my bad. I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, cool. All right. And then I found them, distancing themselves from it. I was like, you know what? That's because, you cannot break that, Don, that trust
yeah,
is that trust factor and that trust bond is something that, whew. So as a man, for me, and you know what? To be honest with you, it's hard for a lot of men to trust.
yeah, yeah. It is.
It's hard for a lot of men to trust. And like I said, for me, I'm like, I don't have anything personally against you. I don't wish anything bad on you. I don't wish no harm to be done to you. Hand over heart, whatever direction God leads you in. I hope that, He takes you that way. And, if it's meant to be, Don, that's the most classic player line there is. If it's
Please.
meant to be, it'll be. So if it's meant for us to be together, it'll circle back around. But
Yeah,
at this point, I just can't do it because
yeah,
the trust ain't there. Because I always, whatever you did to violate my trust, I'm gonna always say, well, did you take that mindset when you did this? Or did you
yeah.
take that mindset when you did this?
Brian, we have a couple of thank you for those who are listening online, and thank you for those who are with us on StreamYard. Marcia Fields, she said that's right. And Keisha, we're about to answer your question. Brian, I want you to give your perspective, and then, of course, I will give my life coaching, Christ-centered wisdom. But this is Keisha's question. Thank you, Keisha, for this transparency and for the question. She says, is some other advice? What's some other truth, wisdom we could give to women that are standing by a man that is dealing with depression? So thank you for that, Keisha. She says, what can you tell women, Brian? Because you yourself dealt with depression when you were married, and still deal with depression sometime. But when you were married before your wife passed and went to be with the Lord, she stood by you, right? I'm sure she had some days she had to get in her prayer closet. But what advice can you tell Keisha? How does a woman stand by her man when he's dealing with depression? Now, Keisha, I assume that if the depression is leading to abuse or you're in an abusive situation, of course,
That was
it's
really
time
kind
to
of
get out of there,
yeah.
and safe plans of action are needed. And I definitely can refer to a domestic violence specialist. But if that's not what we're talking about, then Brian, go ahead, and because I just have to clear that up. Some women, and Keisha, I like you asked that. Stand by him. No, boo. Sometimes you need to walk out of that thing. We as women are nurturers. We love, but if it's putting you in danger, sisters, and then you have men who are in abusive relationships as well.
Yes.
I know a man, he was in an abusive relationship. She was very abusive toward him. So Keisha, I thank you for that question. Thank you for that question. Brian, how do you answer that? And then I'll weigh in. And
So
thank you, Keisha, for that.
but before Mila was diagnosed with colon cancer,
Hmm.
I went through some mental health issues when I
Well,
was.
hold on, hold on. Keisha says no abuse. I know when to walk away. Keisha,
Hey,
Keisha, now look, Keisha, I know you, girl, but I had to put that out there because some people watching the replay
yeah.
or some people watching now. And Keisha, let's be honest, we know some women, they look together, but we don't know what's going on at home. So the Dr. Dar has to give that disclaimer. And yeah, shout out to Lakeithia who's listening too. But go ahead, Brian.
Yes, so let me say this first of all. Hey, I'm glad that ain't no abuse going on
Yeah,
that
that's right.
way. And I'm glad that you know when to walk away. And I was gonna say that when I dealt with mental health issues when I was in the military, and because I went through something when I was in Afghanistan that
Hmm.
I didn't tell Mila for 2 years
Oh, wow. Your wife didn't know.
at all, period.
Wow.
And so that was 2 years of going through 2 years of going through that, of me dealing with what I went through and dealing with those demons
Yes.
and not telling her. And
Mm,
she had to deal with whatever mood I was in.
yeah.
And so one of the things that she did,
Okay.
and that helped out a whole lot, is sometimes she just listened.
Mm,
Sometimes she just listen, or sometimes she just come in, and I could be watching TV. She'll come in and just sit down and just start watching TV. I look, she'll look at me. Head bob us, she head bob me. Sometimes we'll sit there for a hour watching something, watching sports or something, hour and a half, and we may not say 2 or 3 words to each other. Now to the kids, of course, but and it wasn't that we were mad at each other.
right.
It was just, she would sit there, and then later on, we may, head up to the bedroom, and I'd be like, hey, I had a rough day, or I'm really going through some stuff right now. Sometimes she'll say, "Oh, I know. That's why I ain't say nothing to you," or
Mm,
she'll be like, "Well, what's going on?" or whatever the case may be. So sometimes it's best to just be there.
yeah.
Or, sometimes while he's sitting there, just rub his back.
Mm,
My thing was, sometimes she would rub my back, and that would just relax me so much, because she could just tell that I'm tense. And I'm not afraid to say this. Women, y'all know. But women have that sixth sense that y'all just can sense when something is wrong.
yeah.
When you walk into a room, you be like, something just ain't right.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
and
Yes.
if you and your partner, you know him, or know enough about him to have been with him as long as you can. So, sometimes not even saying anything, or not even, nonverbal is the best sometimes, at least for me.
Mm, that's good. Just listening.
Yes.
Just listening. And I think we as women sometimes, and Keisha, I hope that helps. And I'll give you some perspective in a minute. But I think we as women, we want you to open up. But
Work it.
sometimes we need to just stop, listen, uh, give it a moment, and then later you shared, which I think is very interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and because you all are nurturers
Yes.
by nature. So you always want to make sure, like men want to make sure things are right with, hey, look, and make sure this is right. This is right with bills paid, house fixed, whatever the case may be. And, women always want to make, well, not always, but most women want to make sure that you feeling okay on the inside. How you
Mm,
feeling so once you find that healthy balance, that'll help out a whole lot. And you mentioned depression. And
yes.
so I'm gonna specifically say this, dealing, and I'm just talking directly to depression,
Mm,
not anxiety, not PTSD, not being bipolar, none of that other stuff. I'm talking about strictly to depression.
okay.
When a person is, when some people, let me not say everybody, when some people like myself are going through depression, the worst thing that could happen for me sometimes is you trying to get me to talk about it when I'm not ready to talk about it. Because then it's
Don't
going to
push it.
go, yes, because now it's going to go from depression to anger, and
Mm,
from anger to something else. And so if I say I don't want to talk about it right now, can we talk about it later? and you continuously say, no, let's talk about it now, because you don't need to let it fester. You don't need to harbor it on the inside. Well, I'm not harboring on the inside. I just don't have the words to I can't, I don't have the words to say what I'm feeling right now. I'm still trying to process what I'm feeling. I'm still trying to process of I know what caused me to go into a depressive state, but I'm trying to process on how I can, okay, hold on. I got to get myself together. But if
Yeah.
you're steady coming at me, what's wrong, what's wrong, then now, ain't no telling what I'm gonna say, because now I'm dealing with this on this side, and now I want you to leave me alone.
Yeah.
Just now I'm at a point where I gotta be angry towards you and
Yeah.
say things that I may not mean towards you, that I'm gonna have to apologize later on for. And that's the one thing I do not like doing it. I don't like to be angry. And men, they don't like to be angry and have to apologize later on, because it ain't how I meant it. It's just that I needed to get this situation away from me.
Yeah. And sometimes you can feel attacked, right?
Yes.
The woman can feel attacked. So, Keisha, one of the things I say, and this is what I was going to say, um, and you'll see therapists and counselors back up what I'm saying. Uh, you need you have to make sure not to react in a way that's going to continue to fuel the fire, as the old folks say, in layman's terms, because you will want to react. Um, but one of the things, Keisha, self care. You need, if he refuses to go to therapy and counseling, there's nothing you can do about it. The only thing you can do is continue to listen, be positive, do what you can do. Of course, we touched on it's not an abusive situation, right? But you need to make sure you're taking care of yourself in the midst of his depression. What have you seen a therapist? You yourself need to see a therapist or counselor. You need to release it. That is part of your self care mentally. What is that doing to you? So that's something that women need to understand, or men, if you're dealing with a woman um, who's dealing with depression, but it's not your fault. Sometimes it can feel personal. um but Keisha, I suggest any woman get yourself some therapy and counseling. How do you deal with it? Maybe that therapist and counselor, and let me say this, every therapist and counselor doesn't do everything. No life coach, some are good with married couples, some deal with depression, some deal with veterans, right, and their issues. So it's important that you get therapy and counseling that is for your particular area of need. So I have to say that. I just have to say that. So, and make sure you're taking care of yourself. But I suggest you talk it out with somebody who's objective, and maybe they can give you some guidance as well to help you so you can support them. Maybe they can break through and say, hey, this is what I can tell you. I've had other clients who have dealt with this. This is how you can help him. Brian touched on it. Listen. But maybe they can give you some other strategies, techniques for yourself and to help them. If he's open to coming, he is. If he's not, he's not. But you have to make sure that you're dealing with that as well. You're taking care of yourself as well. It's not easy. It's not easy, because I'm sure we've seen marriages end. We've seen relationships end, because the truth is, Brian, when we're dealing with someone when you're dealing with someone, Keisha says, thank you. Prayerfully, that helped Keisha.
Yeah.
We
I
try
hope.
to answer
Yeah.
in truth and wisdom in line with the word of God, just as God leads us. Nobody has all the answers, but prayerfully that gave you some kind of guidance and support. Because what I don't like, Brian, is people to say, pray about it.
Yes. Yeah.
What are the action steps?
Yeah.
Come on here. So,
Don, can I
yeah,
say something real quick?
absolutely.
I don't mean cut you off, but
No, go ahead.
You said something, and I said, if I look, if I was standing there, I'd give you offering, because
Let me give you my cash app. Virtual, honey. Technology. Let me handle that out. But anyway, go ahead.
Don, you said something that I've had to tell a lot of my female friends
Mm,
dealing with their relationship issues. You said, not your fault.
mm,
I've had to tell so many of my female friends, it's not your fault. It's not like, from what you're telling me and from what I know about him, or it's not your fault.
yeah.
It- because he's acting in a certain way doesn't mean that you automatically did something. And why are you going down your self checklist when you know that you haven't done anything?
That's
And
right.
so, oh, Don, that was just like that touched my heart when you said that, because I always have to tell people, hey, listen, it's not your fault. And so, and I'm that way when it comes to a lot of things. I'll be like, hey, like
Mm.
it ain't my fault that it's this way. So, like, I don't know what to tell you. I just know that it's not my fault. I didn't make it this way. And so, oh, Don, you
Well,
didn't
I
got me
mean, the
good. That's a nice
therapists and
word.
counselors will tell you. Look on websites, WebMD. They'll even tell you. Therapists, counselors, they will tell Brian. We're not making this up. Now, look, I am a certified life coach. My nickname is the Dr. Dawn, but we're responsible here. Deep-rooted issues, therapy, and counseling,
Yeah.
and we must say that to people. Um, I'm not just making up things, people. I'm giving you some things I have done research on, whether it's WebMD, um, reading articles, what have you. No, nobody has all the answers. And
Yes.
no therapist and counselor does everything. So it's very important. And I have a referral list to
Yes.
anybody who needs it. Send me a DM and it will be confidential. So if you need a therapist or counselor who is credible, reputable, with a proven track record, I will DM that to you. And there's no shame in asking, and it's free. Come
Yeah.
on. But yes, and Brian, I'll DM you my Cash App information. But no, and the self care, I looked it up on WebMD just now
Hmm.
but I was thinking she needs therapy, counseling, in the wisdom experience. I'm telling you that. But I like how some of these sites, and there's nothing wrong. You got to do research, people.
Yeah.
None of us need to act like we have all the answers.
Yeah.
And I'm
And
not
you
just going
know,
to. I'm not going to tell people pray about it and then get off my stream yard.
and you know what else too, Don? And it's really crazy because you also, in some situations, in some instances, if you can,
Mm-hmm.
before you get ready to marry that person,
Mm,
before you get ready to marry him, or if you've been in a long term relationship with him, you really need to try to get to the root of some things. And what I mean by is, if you can do a little research on where he come from as far as his family upbringing, do that. Because sometimes men deal with issues because of the way they were raised, because their parents or their uncles or their aunties or their grandmothers or godparents or whatever the case have, you know, push their issues onto them, and so they only think of it as being natural. It's like,
but
oh
you
well,
know,
I grew up like this.
But you know what? That's why, and when I talk about relationships, we need to have the hard conversations.
Yes.
And Keisha, in no way am I blaming you, sister. Am I saying you didn't know that before you got with it? No, no, no. I'm not judging you for that, sister. That's not what I'm saying. Some of us, how did you not know 3 years down the line that you didn't want kids? Why were these things not discussed? We don't have hard conversations anymore, Brian. When we date, we ask the surface stuff. What are your goals? What are your Brian, you hit it on the head. I'm going to ask, so do you talk to your family? Do you have a good relationship with your dad? If he says no, okay, sister, that should tell you this brother may, depending on the mama he had, may have issues. He didn't have a positive male role model. So, sister, you're going to have to do a little work. You're going to
Yeah.
have to be a little patient. You're going to
Yes.
have to, what do you find some questions, that, I mean, because what am I to say? On the first date, I'm not going to say, oh, are you depressed? You know what I mean? So
Yes.
how does one give me? I would like to hear some truth and wisdom from you, because the truth is, on the first day, you don't ask, "So you depressed?" No, you don't ask. So
Yeah.
Brian, and give us some truth and wisdom about how we can have those conversations.
You mean as a woman to a man?
Yeah. How can we? And if you offend somebody, they're just not the one for you.
Well, you know what?
Yeah. Because shouldn't we know those things? Shouldn't we say, so do you have a good relationship with your mom?
Yeah.
Sister, if he says no, then you're going to have to put in a little work.
But I
If he
don't think
says,
that's
so yeah, go ahead, Brian.
not a first date though.
But if we talked on the
Eventually.
phone a couple of times,
So
when we
okay.
have the first in-person date, we should be asking a little bit more than.
Okay, wait. So hold on, because look, are we talking about like we talked on the phone, right? We didn't just swipe right and then
No, no, no.
we're gonna meet
We
up.
had a couple of conversations on the phone.
Uh
We
huh.
liked the conversation. Now we're about to go on the first date.
Oh
We've
well,
already talked. We've had
well,
that conversation where we talking 3 hours on the phone, all that stuff till 3 in the morning.
so you've had
Now
multiple
we're
conversations.
going on a date.
You had multiple conversations.
Yes,
So if you
yes.
had multiple conversations, by the time you get to the first day, you should already know. You should already have a good idea on what's going on,
Yeah.
and you should have a good idea of where this is going.
So
And
did Mila know before you all got married that you were battling depression, PTSD? And
well, I wasn't battling. I didn't start battling that until I got into the military.
okay, but you all were married while you were in the military, though,
while
right?
while I was in the military. And
Okay.
so, Mila knew that I went through some things as far as I lost, it's crazy because I've lost the people when they pass away in my life is always something dramatic. And I think we've had this conversation before. So Mila knew that my grandmother, when I lived in Mississippi and she lived in Texas, I was 9 years old, and the week she's supposed to come see us, she died.
Mm,
Mila knows
Lord,
that
Lord.
my brother, passed away when he was 17 years old. He didn't even make it to his senior year. And
Mm,
so she knew those type of things, and those are the type of things that we talked about, from the get-go on the phone, is because, when you talk about siblings and things like that, when you talk about grandparents or whatever the case may be. And so I feel like if you've talked multiple times, there's going to be something that I don't think that anybody has ever had multiple conversations with someone that they potentially want to get with and not have any questions or any red flags. And because by the time if you all had multiple conversations, by the time you all meet up for the first date, it shouldn't be awkward. It should be like we're talking face to face like we would over the phone.
okay, but let's say this, and this is some relationship talk.
Uh-huh.
Men and women, you need to know if you are. So, Brian, let's
Mhm.
say the Dr. Don and Brian are on a date. When do you tell me that you are battling depression? When do you tell me, I just want to let you know? When do you have the conversation and tell the person you're dating, you're with, you're exclusive, right? That you are battling these mental health challenges because they need to know.
Oh yeah, well, you're gonna know before we say we're in a relationship.
Okay. But
These
how
are
do you say it? Because if the other person doesn't know it, if the other person, how do you tell that individual that
so okay,
you're
so
battling that?
I guess let me do it this way if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Okay.
Let me take myself out of it and
Okay.
let me say it to a woman. Let
Okay.
me say it. Let me take it. Let me take my experiences and everything out, and let me just see if I can help some women out there that want to know, right?
Do it.
Once you get into some of these conversations, right? You get into some of these conversations and you say, hey, so what's your relationship, like with your dad? Oh, well, me and my dad didn't have a good relationship because, he beat my mom.
Mm,
Wow. How was that? Did you weren't around for any of that though, were you? Like,
mm.
well, I seen him put hands on her sometimes. For real, I know. Like that had to make you feel, upset and this, that, and another. Yeah, I got some real issues, towards my dad. Some of that didn't blend off on you though, right? Because I know you don't put your hands on women, do you? Oh no, I don't put my hands on women. I seen that, and I knew that that wasn't the type of man that I wanted to be. So that's what I'm saying. When you're having these type of conversations, one conversation should lead to something, should lead to something, especially because women are inquisitive.
Yes. But
It,
it's
it-
how we do it,
yes,
right? You
and
gotta come
yes,
soft. Don't say,
yes,
did you see all that? I like how you, so ladies, we should see how with a soft touch that man is
yes,
gonna open up. Huh?
yes, yes,
Lesson,
yes.
message.
And have these conversations over the phone or
Yes.
FaceTime. Do not have them through text.
Yes,
Do
yes. Come
not have
on.
it because you're the way you're interpreting what you're reading may be totally different than the intentions of the sender.
That's right.
When I sent that message and the way you interpreted when you received it, like, wait a minute, what? So yeah, so I always feel like by the time we go on a first date, by the time we've reached that first date moment, then it should be, unless if we haven't had multiple conversations and we're just meeting up to meet up to hang out, you need to make sure that that person knows, that man knows, hey, we just hanging out. I'll meet you at the coffee shop, or
Yeah.
hey, we're going here. We're just gonna hang out with no intentions. We just gonna talk. That way you can walk away, and now you can process it in your mind if you haven't had these conversations. But if you had multiple conversations, you should know if what this young man has been through. You should know if what traumatic experiences that he's been through. Now he may not get deep with you, but there's going to be a small window of opportunity that you're going to start hearing some things, and
That's
you
right.
make sure that you keep a mental note of that,
Hmm.
and then you slowly approach those type of things. You can be like, well, and like you say right here, realness, right?
Yes.
So you can be like, so, you know, how did you feel when you found out that your grandfather was touching your mother when she was little?
Yeah.
How did you feel? How did that make you feel? Because sometimes it only takes a little bit to set somebody off.
Trigger.
You
It
know,
triggers some things. Yes.
yeah, or how did you look? How did you feel when when you was coming back from the store and you got robbed and beat up?
Mm.
Like, because it just doesn't have to deal with things that's going to happen in the relationship. You could be robbed at gun. I got robbed at gunpoint. I got robbed at gunpoint with the gun right to my head, and that was a traumatic experience for me.
Wow.
And that could make me that could have made me have some type of mental mind state of every time I see somebody that looks like him, or every
Triggers. It triggers some things. Yeah.
yeah.
It's triggers. Yeah.
By the time we go on the first date, we should know that
Yeah.
if we
But
have
but
multiple.
I like how you worded that, Brian. These are some things we should be conscious and aware of, and that's why I tell people you need to date being centered on Christ. When you have this, oh my gosh, I just want to get married, when you're dating out of desperation,
Oh,
but when you date with the spirit of wisdom and discernment,
yes,
God will tell you, because there are women who have married men who come from an abusive past, to come from but they knew, yes, they were going to have to be patient, but they
yes,
knew they weren't going to be abused. They knew, but it was only with the spirit of wisdom and discernment and taking that time to get to know him. Because the more time, because let me tell you something, if you're dating somebody, there's no way he's not going to go through something. You
oh yeah,
see how people deal with stress in situations. Every day in that relationship is not going to be great. If that brother you're dating loses his job, how is he reacting?
yeah, and don't
Yeah.
and stop and women, please hear me out, because the men don't listen. So women, please hear me out. Stop letting how fine he is push the
Mm,
red flags to the back.
yes.
Stop letting how fine he is stand in front of those multiple red flags. Well,
Yes.
girl, he fine. I ain't worried about he fine. I could fix him. No, no, you got you look. You got your F's mixed up. You got your F's mixed up. You ain't gonna be able to. All them red flags he got behind him. Fineness, going to the gym, eating right, nutrition plan. That's not good hair. All of that's not gonna change it.
But Brian is telling you as a man. And see,
Yes.
that's why I like when a man is telling you, ladies, because I can tell him all day long, but when a man is telling you, he better have more than fine. Maybe it just kind of is a different kind of breakthrough. I
Yeah.
believe
Yeah.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. But of course, it starts internally. Sister, where are you? Where are you, sister? That you're ignoring the red flags. She's
Yeah.
maybe dealing with some generational curses. She may be dealing with some insecurities. That she's overlooking it, or maybe she doesn't see it because of her background. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Don, that's why. So like, I have daughters and I
Hmm.
have granddaughters and I got
Yes.
sons, but I tell people all the time, I try to be the man I want my daughters to marry. I
Oh
try to
yes.
be the man, the example I want my granddaughters to grow up and marry. And Don, I'm gonna be honest with you, Dad, pre Mila, I'd be like, Hey, don't look at me. And I had a daughter coming into our relationship. And I wasn't the best father. I mean, you and I have had this conversation before, and I'm not afraid to say it because I've said it out loud before. I wasn't the best father, but once I got married and I had that family, and I realized that I got, because my biological daughter was lived with her mom, and Mila had 4 kids coming into the to our relationship, and so when I married her, I married the kids, and
Yeah.
so now I got young ladies in my house every day, looking to see what well, how does Brian handle it, how does Brian do it, and I will say this: they have married men. My 2 oldest daughters, they have married men who are similar to myself.
Amen.
They
The
came in
cycle is broken.
Yeah, they came in with children already,
Yeah.
and these guys to treat my grandkids like they're their own. But
Amen.
they wouldn't have been able to see that if I would have treated Mila any type of way, or been a bad example, because now I'm not here to bash any other man. I never any other man. I never talk bad about their father, because, and that's the thing, Don. When Mila and you talked about me coming in. Mila came in. Mila was the one that came in with a lot of, like, a lot of trauma,
Mm.
a lot of PTSD, anxiety issues, like from her previous marriage, and from her ex-husband's family, and even some of the things she went through in her own family. I mean, and we all have our issues in our families, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mila came with 4 kids and some issues.
But you know what? Maybe that's why she was so understanding to you, because she grew up seeing it.
Yes.
But she knew, because she grew up with it, that you weren't going to be, you know,
Yes.
like but she saw that this was a, even though he made it, this is going to be a good man. This
Yeah.
is, and but that made her understanding to it. Let me tell you. Brian, that's like,
Yeah.
that is so good. I hate to let you go. I hate to say the word hate, but I hate,
Yeah.
I hate to put,
Yeah.
because we can have a whole nother conversation about relationships,
Yeah.
and men. And I always, like, my brain is working as I'm having one conversation. So I might have a panel of men talk about relationships, like-minded brothers like yourself, and maybe some not like-minded, to shake things up.
Uh-huh.
Why not, right? So let me think about that. But I like that, because relationships are always a good topic. But let's hear from men.
Yes.
Let's hear
Yeah.
from men.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Yeah, yeah. What are final words you want to say about men, mental health, before we let you go?
One, men, learn to listen and be expressive.
Mm,
Listen and be expressive. And what I mean by listen, so I know some people are gonna be like, well, I listen to my wife all the time. I listen to my kids all the time. Yeah, but sometimes it ain't that. Sometimes it's not humans. Sometimes it's not animals, or sometimes it's the earth. And I'm not one of those. I'm not trying to make myself sound like I'm all center of the earth type guy, but sometimes in your stillness you can listen, and just listening to different types of things coming in, and coming into your body, coming into your spirit, that allows you to be expressive. Let me say this real quick, Don. Men, learn to go outside and just stand and don't do nothing for a second.
mm. Take a
Go outside.
break.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Just take a break. It will make you more expressive down the line. Because if you just standing outside and you just observing, you just looking, you ain't doing nothing. If you just standing outside, you're not doing nothing. Then the wheels start to turn. Now you're able to figure out, oh dang, you know what? I probably could have handled that situation a whole lot better.
Mm. But
When I
talk to the. No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, when I go back in this house, you know what? I'm gonna tell her what's going on.
Mm.
I figured out a way to express it. But you've got to express it. You've got to get it off, because w- you're talking to a guy who, and Don, one day I'll tell you exactly what happened offline one day. We're
Mm.
talking to a guy who went through a very traumatic experience and carried that for 2 years. That burden, that weight is heavy. And
Wow.
I didn't realize how heavy it was because I got used to carrying it. But I didn't
Mm.
realize how heavy it
Yes.
was till I was able to talk about it. And once I was able to start expressing it, and once I was able to start getting it out, I started to realize, oh, wait a minute. This thing's feeling a little bit better now. I'm feeling a little bit better. It feels like some weight is starting to be taken off of me. Now I ain't gotta pretend no more because I'm getting what I need to get out. So
Mm.
listen and be expressive
But
and have fun. Jesus Christ, men don't have fun no more. I don't
but
like fun.
talk to the women. Talk to the women about how they can support their man. It is Stress Awareness Month. Stress Awareness Month. We touch. Keisha asked a very good question. Uh, so what else?
Ooh,
Just anything the
uh,
Lord is leading you to say. How can a woman support? Because you told us a little bit about Mila. She just listened and she gave the situation time before she brought it up again. Because and also we have to be sensitive and we have to understand men and women communicate differently, right?
yes, yes.
So you have to understand listening. He's not ready to talk about that right now. Maybe
Oh,
you don't need to bring that up as soon as he gets in the door because the weight of the world has been on his shoulders all day. Is this really, again, timing and tone?
yes. Yeah.
But what, Brian, and just your experience or what Mila has done for you,
Well,
anything else that you haven't mentioned that women can do to support the man in their life who may be dealing with some stress?
yes. Always remember, he's your man, not your child.
Mm, what do
He's
you
your
mean by
man.
that?
He's your man. He's your spouse. He's the person that you love. He's the person you want to be with. He's the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. Even if it's just at that moment, he's your man. He's not your child. So he doesn't need to be chastised. He doesn't
Michelle
need
Brown, she's on here. She says, Amen.
to, he doesn't need
And
to be.
she's a married woman. She's been married for, she's telling you. Hallelujah. Thank you,
Yes,
Michelle. Yeah.
yes.
And Michelle not gonna lie if she doesn't agree. Go ahead, Brian.
So when I say that he's not your child, meaning that he doesn't need to be chastised, he
Mm,
doesn't need to be talked down to, he doesn't need to be talked at, he needs to be talked to.
amen.
He needs to have that room to be able to talk back. He needs that
Yes.
room to be able to respond. He needs that room to be able to respond in his own way. It doesn't have to be sometimes when a man is trying to express himself, it's not going to be articulate.
Yeah.
It's not. And I hate to say this because I know this is a gospel radio station, but sometimes some men can only express themselves by using profanity.
Mm,
Some men can only express themselves by using explicitives, and he's not spewing them towards you. He's spewing them towards the situation. Now,
mm.
once y'all calm down, you can help him and say, "Hey, next time let's use some different type of language." But it's when that time comes, that's how it's supposed to be. So just always remember that he's your man, not your child. You
Amen.
handle them in two totally different ways.
Yeah. I think this has been amazing conversation. Michelle says, I know that's right, Dr. Don. Y'all, good evening, Thesia. Thank you, Keisha, again for the question. But again, ladies, if you are challenged, if you are finding that the man in your life is dealing with stress, depression, Keisha, thank you so much for that question. Do not forget that you need to take care of yourself. He may not go to therapy, counseling. We talked about just listening, right? But you don't hesitate to go to therapy and counseling.
Yes.
Um, Maybe that will help give you a breakthrough how to communicate with him better. Maybe it will reveal some things that are unbeknownst to you because we don't always do self-assessment. Sometimes it takes somebody on the outside who's objective to help us. And I always have to say Christ-centered because it should always bring you back to Christ for true healing. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on a Christian station. I say that on my Facebook Live because it's too many things that are creeping in.
Yes.
Spiritual, it needs to be savior spirit. And I just have to say that, brothers and sisters, and I say that with no judgment, just realness. He's the center of our healing. So I suggest any therapy and counseling, it should be Christ centered. And then I, of course, can give you my referral list send you a DM. Send me a DM if you need a therapist or counselor. I will give you that list. But Brian, give us your contact information if people want to follow you, see what you're doing, see
You can.
you having Twitter beefs.
I
Hey,
and,
what is your information?
and Don, you know what? I moved so far away from that now because
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm serious because I told him it's like it wasn't worth it. So, oh, one more thing, Don, before I go, real quick.
Yeah.
Women also remember that it's okay to take your man on a date too.
Oh, that's good.
Take him on a date. He'll open up and start talking to you. Even if you don't like the places that he likes, he likes that place. You trying to find out something, take him to that place. Take
We
him
need to do a show about Esther. How Esther? I
Yeah.
mean, my God, Michelle again. She says yes, indeed, and she's a married woman.
Yeah.
Esther, the Esther approach. I cannot tell you. This woman of God, she was talking about how she wanted to talk to her husband about something God had told her, right?
Yeah.
And she says, I got to butter him up. Not manipulate, not in a way to manipulate, but she knows how to make him, kind of be more open and just, accept what she was going to say. So she said she cooked the dinner, lit the candles. Sometimes she said she took the Esther approach. Sometimes that's what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that you said that. It's not manipulation, though. We're not talking about manipulating.
You put them in a comfortable environment. When people get
yes,
you
absolutely.
put them in a comfortable environment, they'll hey look. Now I know this is gonna sound bad because you just said no manipulation, but I mean I know if I wanted to find out something for my kids, I know exactly where to take them. Hey, you want to go eat? Let's go eat. Let's go walk around the mall. Let's just talk. Let's just talk. Let's just talk. But you can find me at Big Star Sports with a Z at the end on Instagram and on Twitter, and you can follow me right here. Follow me on Facebook, Brian Bearfield.
That's good. And Michelle Brown also says it's about showing interest in your man.
Amen.
It's not always about you. Babe, where do you want to go? He's going to be like, oh.
And throw him a little compliment every now and then.
Yeah.
We hear compliments too.
Amen to that. See, this is turning into a relationship. But see, this is how we help him ease the stress. This is Stress Awareness Month.
Yes.
Brian's giving you some game as a man, ladies.
Yes.
Yeah, if I tell him, oh, shit, Brian is telling you, a man is telling you, ladies, how to get that man to open up.
And I will always be here, Don, when you need me. When you have this, when you have this show, when you put the show together about having men in studio, just let me know ahead of time so I can come in studio.
You know what? Maybe I should do. I have a Father's Day show coming up in June. That's booked though. But I'm thinking about another. My wheels are always turning here.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to do another because I love talking to men. I really do. I love we don't talk to men enough. We always talk to women, right?
Yeah.
Let's hear what men have to say instead of hearing from women about how he did this and let's. Yeah. I don't do those waiting to exhale parties over here. Come on now. But and I'm getting comfortable because I'm fixing my bra on the show. Because I'm like, that's how we having real talk. Because I'm just like, I'm about to take my hat off, put my bonnet on, Brian. We getting comfortable here, y'all. But seriously, let me get my wheels turning. Let me think about who. So Brian is going to be one of them. Let me think about when I'm going to do the show. But then, ask a man about a man's issues. That's what Michelle says. So I really like that. Let me, because I talk to men. I like shows with men, and I haven't had one in a minute. I have one coming up Father's Day, but I may need to do another one with men in relationships. I've talked about men and mental health before, but that's good, Brian. But I got to think about the other brothers who are going to come on because I like real talk.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we keep it candid.
Yes,
but we keep it in Christ.
For sure.
But we keep it candid.
I wear my other cowboy hat. I gotta wear my black cowboy hat into the studio because I'm gonna turn. Did you used to watch Young and the Restless?
No, I think I watched General Hospital, One Life to Live, Passions.
Well, look for your audience who watches who watch Young and the Restless, they'll know what this reference means. Hey, I'm coming into studio and I'm wearing my black cowboy hat and I'm coming in all black.
Okay,
They,
see, I didn't
Victor
watch it.
Newman. They
I didn't
know what
watch
that
it.
means. Victor
Oh,
Newman. I'm coming
oh,
in.
now I've heard of Victor.
Yeah. So yes,
Ah, very good. Yeah, Brian, but I got to think of some brothers. Who are those brothers going to be? So you'll come in studio for that conversation, right?
yes,
Okay.
yes. I'll
Michelle
come.
must know Young and the Restless. She's saying okay. Good conversation, Brian
Thank you for
Bearfield.
having me.
I think this has been very good. I think we have touched on mental health. Prayerfully, Keisha, we gave some wisdom and we spoke truth, competence, and wisdom with your question prayerfully. Um, because I don't like just leaving people out there. So
Yes,
prayerfully, we gave her a little light, right?
yes.
So Brian, I think this has been great. And we didn't
I
even get
enjoy
to
myself.
like I was only supposed to have you on here an hour. Yeah. You cut into my the Dr. Don Daily Dose time. So
I'm
now
sorry.
I gotta just go into prayer to end the show later. But I think this was good. We're gonna save my forgiveness factor for next week.
All right.
Cause
I'll
see,
be
you gotta
listening.
that's why I tell people, let the spirit lead.
Yes. Yes, exactly. You're
You
right.
can't cut it off in an hour if it's some powerful conversation going on.
Oh yeah, some
Yeah.
healing.
I
Yeah.
like that. Anything
Therapy.
else you want to say before we let you go?
Once again, I want to say, well, one, I just want you to know I'm adding me being on this show on my IMDb because
Hey, are we big time now?
no, I don't have that yet, but anytime on your show or on a show with you, to make sure I write that down. I have appeared on, but no, I really want to say, like I said, to start the show from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for having me on. I thank you for being the friend that you are. I thank you. Let me say this. I thank you for being that person that even if you don't hear from me for a long period of time, you don't judge me for it. You don't get mad at me for it. And when we talk, it's like we just talked. Like it is like the conversation never ended from the last time we talked. So I
Yeah.
just want to say thank you and I appreciate that.
Amen. And you know what we do? They ain't call me. Okay, but why don't you call them?
Yeah. That's
It's
it.
always about us.
Yes. Yes, and I try to make sure I reach out to some of the people I haven't talked to in a while because I'm like, my phone works too. I got an
Yeah.
unlimited data plan, and I got AT&T, so yeah, my phone works too.
So and so didn't call me. Okay,
Yes,
but did you call them? I don't hear from Don anymore, but did you call me?
because you don't know
Yeah.
what they're going through too.
That's right. But
Mhm.
again, get out of that selfish space and you pick up the phone. You
Yes.
pick up the phone. Man, we could like talk about a million things all day long. But see, this is what I can't do, Brian. I gotta, I before I go into prayer with the people, when I end the show, I gotta witness. So we love you, but I can't let you disrespect. I gotta give the witness to the people before I let them
Yeah.
go. But no,
Yes.
we're gonna let me get my and I'm gonna send myself an email reminder to do the relationship show. And Brian, you're gonna be in studio. See, but you got your sports stuff going on. We're gonna have to make sure.
Don, listen.
So you'll come here and miss the Rockets.
Well, the Rockets are there in the off season, the Texans in the off season. I'll come there. And I'll miss the Astros.
Okay.
I'll miss
So
the Astros to come in studio.
okay. So I'm gonna look at the calendar. We're gonna get it scheduled, and y'all
Yes,
gonna come in studio, right?
I will
Or
be
maybe
there.
we do a StreamYard.
No, I got to be in studio. I got to sit in there. 'Cause look, hold on. How long is this show gonna be? Because
Well, the
when I get a,
show is 7 to 10. Your interview will probably be like 7 because we're gonna go till 8:30.
that's all I needed to know. Because I get long winded when I get around you, Don. So
Hey, it's gonna be good. So let me
yeah.
send myself an email. We will do that.
All
Yeah.
right. Thank you for
Brothers and sisters, I want to thank you all who are listening online, who are listening through the app, who are listening through StreamYard. God bless, and who are watching through StreamYard. Brian Bearfield, God bless you, brother.
thank you.
Yeah, God
Thank
bless you. God bless you. Thank you.
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes.